Commissioner Ace Coach 704, PEL, Primetime Elite League. We are taking an in-depth look at the playoff picture, and I'm going to get started as soon as I can post this lovely thing that I'm doing here. And there we go. Alright. So, as you see on the screen, everybody's records are up. Of course, the Seahawks have been a constant assault on the PEL at 13-0. They won today over the Vikings. I think it was 24-3. The Titans have been red hot. They're the AFC hot guy right now, winning 10 in a row. And they defeated the Jaguars 14-0 earlier today, kind of solidifying their hold on their division. Vikings have lost 2 in a row. Tough, unexpected loss to the Patriots, and then, of course, the loss to the Seahawks we talked about earlier, so they're going the wrong direction at the critical time of the year. Ravens 11-2, in a good spot in the AFC. We'll detail them in a minute. Texans 10-2, and it's crazy, but they're in a wild card spot. We'll detail that in a minute. Panthers went to 11-2, hard-fought game on the road in Cleveland. They were able to pull it out 31-21. And then the Dolphins at 10-2, leading the AFC East, and they pretty much got that division wrapped up, I believe. And we're going to jump, because those are the double-digit win teams, so now we'll jump by division, and then we'll start hashing this thing out. We'll start the AFC. AFC North, you got the Ravens at 11-2. Browns at 8-5. Still have playoff hopes. We'll get to that in a minute when we look at the wild card. And of course, the Bengals and Steelers are preparing for next season. Steelers are still competitive, though. Can be a spoiler down the stretch. And then the Bengals, same with them. They've been tough, but 3-9, they're out of it. So we know the Ravens are pretty much in. And based on whatever they have left on their schedule, which we'll look at here in a second, they pretty much got the division wrapped up with a 3-game lead. With 3 games left to go, they'd have to lose out, the Browns have to win out, and then hope the tiebreakers go in their favor. So when you start looking at tiebreakers within a division, you gotta look at the division wins and losses. The Ravens already have 5 division wins, so they've pretty much got this on lock in the AFC North. Unless a miracle happened, basically. So the Browns' really only hope is the wild card position here, which we'll detail in just a second. AFC South, you got the Titans at 11-2, Texans at 10-2. The Texans will be 11-2 after the force over the Colts because we don't have a Colts owner. Looking for someone. I've got several messages out. Hadn't got anything back, but I've got several messages out. The Jags are 9-4, and of course the Colts are CPU. So, if this division comes down to tiebreakers, let's take a look at that real quick. So, you see, the Titans are 3-2 in the division. The Texans they'll be 3-2 as well if they win over the Colts. Then the Jags are 4-1. So, right now the Jags are in the most favorable position, but they're 2 games back because the Texans will be 11-2 here after their next advance. So, take a look at their schedules real quick because this is such a wide open and critical division here. If I remember how to get the schedules. Alright, so we're looking at the Titans, Texans, and the Jaguars. So first is the Texans' remaining schedule coming down the stretch. So we got the Jets, which was probably a win. The Eagles, which always play tough. And then you got a head-to-head with the Jaguars. The Jaguars need to win that game. And by that point, we might not even, know if they still have a chance at the division. But that's a critically important game for the Jaguars in Week 17. The Titans coming down the stretch. They have the Giants, Redskins, and the Colts. Well, we know the Colts is probably going to be a win. Even if we have a new person, I don't see them beating Scooby right now. And then the Redskins and the Giants, probably figure they beat the Giants. Redskins is a tricky game right there. That could be a trap game for the Titans. So, really, when you look at the Texans' schedule, their hope for the division is still open with that Redskins game. They got an Eagles game that could be kind of tricky, and then the Jags, too. They won't be easy, but Texans still has a shot, but they need a little help from the Redskins, I think. Because if they wind up in a tie You see the Titans have already beaten the Texans there, and then earlier this season, well, they beat the Titans, so they split on that. So then it goes to conference record, which we'll look at in just a second. We're getting deep into tiebreakers here. Jags final games. They have the Redskins, Dolphins, and the Texans. Woo! Talk about murderer's row. That's 3 division leaders right there. So, you know, in the wild card, you're in the AFC. The Jags, I think, right now are in it, but they're gonna have to earn it. Those 3 games will not be easy to try to get into the playoffs. So, woo, Jeff, tough road, boy. Alright, so let's go back to the division standings and look at those teams' conference records. So then we're going to scroll over here. And we're looking at AFC wins. So the Titans would have the tiebreaker right now based on their AFC conference record. They got 9 wins in the conference. In that last game, I can't remember who was against, but they have a good shot of, you know, being the tiebreaker if it came down between them and the Texans for the division championship. All right, AFC East. Dolphins have already locked this up pretty much. Bills in 6-6, Patriots 6-6. I think you got some far-fetched wild card hopes. You got to run the table to try to get in it because you got so many competitive teams in the AFC picture. But we'll look at your prospects here in a second. And then the Jets 2-10 are looking forward to next year already. Taking a look at a conference record for the see, your conference record is going to hurt you right there, Bills and Pats. If you got into a tiebreaker, your conference record for a wild card is not that great, so that's going to hurt you in trying to run the table and then try to get in if you tie with somebody. All right, AFC West. You got an interesting 2-team race shaping up here. You got the Chargers at 8-4 and the Broncos 7-6. The Broncos have come on strong, man. They defeated the 49ers, who had been hot. They defeated them big, and I was kind of surprised. And Deontay has been pretty good this year, but he hadn't been his usual dominating self. And you see the Broncos have won 4 in a row to get back in this race. So we said mid-season, if you could get hot and get on a roll, you can get back in your race. And that's what the Broncos have done here. They figured some things out. The new Chiefs guy said he was trading all his guys. I don't advocate it, but that's what he said. And the Raiders, they won the game. Congrats to Blake. They won 7-0 the other day. But you look at the division records here between the Chargers and Broncos. Within the division, they're 2-2 each. And then your conference record, Deontay's got a little bit better conference record, so we got to look at them head-to-head to see what they look like as far as possible tiebreakers within the division. All right, so we're going to go to Broncos first. Uh-oh, not the Browns. Broncos, there we go. Chargers. So they beat the Chargers in week 11. And they got one more. Ooh, week 17. That could be for the division right there. If you're the Broncos, that's what you want. Control your own destiny there. That could be a really, really huge game. You got to figure against the Raiders, they're probably going to win. And then a big, big game right there with the Browns. Wow. That's going to be a lose-or-leave town match right there. And I'm not joking. And then the Chargers coming down the stretch. So they got the Bengals. That could be an interesting game. The Bengals, like I said, are tough. The Chiefs are new. So that'll be an interesting game. The Ravens will not be an easy game. They lead the AFC North, and then that matchup with the Broncos. So Deontay doesn't have an easy road, especially those last 2 games. So it's definitely still in play for the Broncos in the AFC West. Very, very interesting AFC race here. All right, so let's take a look and break it down through seeding in the AFC. Alright, so you got to figure the Titans right now are the number 1 seed. Ravens are the number 2 seed. Texans are the 5 seed. That's the first wild card right now. Dolphins, the 3rd seed. And then Deontay and the Chargers are the 4th seed. We said the Texans are the 5 seed, the first wild card. Right now, the Jags are the 2nd wild card. Still in contention, though. Browns for the wild card. Broncos for the wild card and the division. And then Bills and Patriots outside shots at the wild card spots. Remember, the wild card tiebreakers are your conference records, okay? So Jags and Texans, we're looking at you guys. You guys are the 2 wild card teams right now. Texans with a 7-2 conference record. Jags 7-3 conference record. Browns 6-3 conference record. And see, this is what I was talking about. The Bills 4-5, Broncos 4-5, Patriots 3-5. You got to do better in the conference here going forward to have a shot of trying to get back into that wild card chase. Bills and Pats, I think you got to win out. Broncos, you still got an outside shot at the division, but winning out obviously will help your chances a lot. Browns, you still in a pretty good spot. We saw Jeff's schedule coming down the stretch. He's got 3 really tough games left. So Browns, if you're able to win 2 out of those 3, I think you're in a pretty decent spot. But AFC conference wins are going to be the key, especially for those wild card spots going forward. All right, so everybody knows where they stand in the AFC. All right, let's jump to the NFC. We're going to start with the divisions. In the NFC North, you got the Vikings pretty much locked. Well, yeah, they're pretty much locked it up, I would say. 10-3, they lost their last 2, but their only threat are the Lions at 6-6, who've been kind of up and down lately. And then you look at the division head-to-head. I think they've won all their division games. Yeah, they're 4-0. Lions are 2-2. So take a look at the Vikings schedule going forward here. Because they hit the skids for some reason. The loss to the Patriots was the most surprising to me. Losing to the Seahawks, I mean, we all do that. All right, so coming down to Dolphins, big game right there, interconference big game, and then a head-to-head with the Lions, and then the Bears. Okay, so they finished up with 2 in their division, which they pretty much owned all season. But that game with the Dolphins right there is another big one. And I'll tell you, man, the Dolphins are tough. They don't say much. I don't think they've said much since week 2 to me, but they've been winning a lot. And you know, it's a home game for Minnesota, but we'll see if they can get it turned around. And then if the Lions have any shot well, they don't really have a shot. There's like 3 games left, so the Vikings do have the division locked up at the least. But for the Vikings still have hope at the number 2 seed in a bye. They've got to win. Especially these last 2 NFC games here. So we talked about how important conference wins are for tiebreakers. All right, let's jump to our next NFC division. It's the NFC South and the Panthers. You know what I wish they would bring back? I wish they would bring back the little music that played in Tecmo Super Bowl, and I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna put it on my next video. When you win a division, I'm with the little do 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 do. I used to love that, man. It made you feel like you did something, you know? They don't celebrate nothing in Madden. You just get a little letter and keep it moving. But anyway, the Panthers won the division tonight. They won over Cleveland 31-21, and coinciding with the Falcons' loss at the Packers. So the Panthers 11-2 right now, the number 2 seed in the conference. First round bye if we can keep it up. Falcons have lost 3 tough games in a row. Bucks 5-7, Saints 4-8. I don't think you guys have wild card hopes, especially the Saints, but they are playing better. They've won 2 in a row. I told y'all Reggie was good once he gets it going. But anyways, let's look at the conference records here for tie-breaking purposes. So you see the Panthers 7-2 in the NFC, Falcons 4-5, Bucks 4-5. All right, so down the stretch for these teams. Take a look at their schedules. See what they got to do. All right, oh, there we are. All right, so the Panthers coming down the stretch have 2 against the Saints and then the Falcons. I played Reggie for years. I feel like we know each other inside and out, so they won't be easy games, and then the Falcons will be hungry to get revenge. We played very well the first time down there, and I know that won't be easy. But not the toughest of roads, but it won't be easy because especially this year in Madden, it's freaking crazy. So then we want to look at let's look at the Bucks. Bucks have faint wild card hopes coming down the stretch. Ravens game is going to be really tough for them. Saints, well, they got to win out. So you got to win all 4 of these if you want to have a shot of trying to get a wild card position. 3 of those are in the NFC. Really critical you win your NFC games. So even if you lost, you get to 8-8. Well, I don't think you'll have a shot, but we'll see. And then the Falcons coming down the stretch. So they got the Cardinals, and that's a loser leave town match. We'll get to the Cards here in a second. And you got the Panthers, and then you got the Buccaneers. And that's definitely a loser leave town match right there. So big gut check time for the Falcons coming forward. I think they still got wild card hopes, but they got to get it turned around fast. All right. Still to our next NFC division. And that is going to be the East. All right, so the Redskins have a 2-game lead on the Eagles. Giants and Cowboys are obviously out of it. That tie is between the Eagles and Redskins. I don't know if they played before, if that was their first matchup. Within the division, 3-0, 2-1. Redskins with a 1-game lead there, and then Redskins with a good conference record as well. Eagles with not a bad conference record at 5-3, so that keeps them alive in the wild card chase going down the line. Take a look at their 2 schedules and see what they got to face to try to get into the playoffs. Alright, so we'll do the Redskins first. And the Redskins have the Giants, Jags, Titans, and Eagles. Definitely not the easiest of roads. You'd like to think they can get the Giants game, but those last 3 are definitely toss-ups. We already saw they tied with the Eagles, and then the Titans and the Jags both have a lot to play for. So huge leverage games coming up here for the Redskins. So the Eagles, your door to the division is still there, because the Redskins have some tough games coming down the stretch. And Eagles, that's what you should be hoping for right now. Don't count on that wild card. You count on that trying to win that division. And what do you have to do? You got the Cowboys, Rams, Texans, and Redskins. So we know the Redskins is a huge game. You want to get it to at least a 1-game difference by that point. Texans game is going to be really tough. We know how good Levi is, and he still has a ton to play for. Cowboys and Rams. Neither one of those guys have a lot to play for, but we have seen them both win big games this season. And we know how good the Rams usually is, and we know Lee can sneak up on you at any point. So huge games coming down the stretch here for the Eagles. The Eagles have a lot they can do. They can play themselves in, or they can play themselves out. They can win a division, they can get a wild card, or they can be out of it altogether. We'll see how they can handle the pressure coming down the stretch. All right, so our last division we're going to look at is the NFC West. Once we get to it. There we go. All right, so we know the Seahawks are the number 1 seed overall. They've been the best team in the league so far this season. And then behind them, you've got a couple interesting cases here. The Rams are out of it at 4-8. But the 49ers 6-7, the Cardinals 6-6. You're gonna really have to look at tiebreakers here to see how much of a chance they have. So you got 5-4 in the conference for the 49ers, 4-4 in the conference for the Cardinals. Let's take a look at their schedules coming down the stretch here and see what they got to do. Alright, so now we're going to do the Cardinals first. Alright, and the Cardinals have the Lions, Falcons, Rams, and Seahawks. Alright, so these are all games where they're pretty even with these teams. These are, especially these Lions and Falcons games, they're battling for wild card positioning possibly. So they've got to win those 2. The Rams are out of it, but we know they're dangerous. And then, of course, the Seahawks in Week 17. If you are counting on that game to win, you have got to win these 3, I think, to put yourself at 9-6, because you know how tough the Seahawks have been. Now, the interesting thing is, if you're the Seahawks, are you resting guys in Week 17 so they'll be healthy for the playoffs? That's a thing you can consider there. If it was me, I most definitely would, because an undefeated regular season, we've had those in the PEL before, and then they get in the playoffs and they lose. To me, it's nice to say you did it, but if you don't win the title, you know, it ain't really nothing worth talking about, to be honest with you. So we'll see how the Seahawks plays it coming down the stretch. So that Week 17 game, they could go full bore, or they could have some guys out, and that might give you a better chance to win. So we'll see what happens, but you have got to win those three if you're the Cardinals. The 49ers coming down the stretch. Let's see what they've got. They've got hot for a while. Now they've had a couple tough games. So now, well, we know the Seahawks going to play their guys in that game. So you got the Bears and the Rams. And that puts you at a chance to, you're probably looking at 8-8 best shot there if you're the 49ers. Well, now let's take a look and see if that's going to be good enough. So the wild card in the NFC is going to be really interesting. Let's try to hash this out. All right. So in the NFC, we know the Seahawks are the 1 seed right now. Panthers are the 2nd seed. Vikings would be the 3rd seed. Redskins will be the 4th seed. Now, here are your wild card teams, and this is crazy to me. Falcons are the 5 seed right now. Eagles are the 6 seed right now. You see these records, 7-6, 6-5-1. Okay? Actually, I think the Eagles will be the 5 seed by percentage, because you see that 542 over 538. So the Eagles will be the 5, and then the Falcons would be the 6. Okay. And then still in contention, the Lions, 49ers, Cardinals, and even the Buccaneers, as crazy as it sounds at 5-7, because you have a 7-6 team as your 6th seed, you guys are all still in legitimate contention right there. I think 4-1, 4-8, I think you're out of it, unless you ran the table and got really lucky, but I think 4-8 is out of it. But anything from here, Bucks, Cardinals, 49ers, Lions, you still have a lot to play for. As crazy as it sounds, typically you don't see that, but this year you've got a shot. A lot of teams are still in it in the NFC. So conference records from the Falcons on down. Take a look at them. 4-5 in the conference for the Falcons. 5-3 for the Eagles. 5-4 for the Lions. 5-4 49ers. 4-4 Cardinals. 4-5 Buccaneers. So you see your conference records take the Rams and the Saints out of it. Those are not good enough to really contend, in my opinion. But you see who's in a good spot. The Eagles at 5-3 are in a good spot. Lions, 49ers with 5 wins and pretty good spots. Cardinals, you still have a lot of NFC games left to make a push to get to an 8-4 conference mark, which would help you a lot. The Falcons at 4-5, tenuous spot. You got to get more NFC conference wins to try to stay in that spot in case of a tiebreaker. The Eagles tie gives them an interesting kind of thing here. You see that push their win percentage up over the Falcons for that 5 spot. So that tie makes a really, really big difference here. It's not like they don't count it like a loss. They kind of split the percentage on it, and it gives you that little extra edge. So the Eagles, I think, are in a pretty good spot right now. But remember, it's that tight. They're in the 5 with 6 wins. Falcons at the 6 with 7 wins. And then all these guys are still in it with a lot to play for. So, hey, make sure you get these games in and communicate, about forces and things of that nature. Those are going to be very important coming down the stretch in this last quarter of the season. All right, so real quick, we'll recap some games that have been played already this week. And then I'm going to bed because I have to actually go back to work. All right, so the Titans defeated the Jags 14-0. Oh, my gosh. 52 total yards of offense for the Jags? Are you serious? And 4 turnovers? What a defensive performance by Tennessee. Although they didn't get much, they possessed the ball 19 minutes. What the heck happened in this game? So Andrew Luck, I guess more of that date rape drug, 4 interceptions. Mariota didn't do too great himself, but he did enough to get the win there. Derrick Henry, huge game, 127 on the ground and a touch. See, people are starting to run the ball better. No really big games receiving. DJ Chark, although he's probably going to be Rookie of the Year, another big catch for the Jags. And then standing out defensively, Woodyard with 2 sacks. And then a bunch of interceptions on both sides there, as you would expect. So, tough defensive battle that Tennessee won to kind of control that division. Baltimore continuing to win. Good win in Kansas City, never an easy place to play. A lot of turnovers, 7 turnovers combined in this game. But looks like Baltimore got the running game going a bit. Lamar Jackson done a good job overall leading that team this year. Did throw a touchdown pass. Alex Collins 76 on the ground, leading rusher. Watkins 5 for 94, biggest game. Oh, Crabtree 2 for 95 and a touch. Big play, 73-yarder, nice. And then defensively standing out. 2 sacks for Judon. And then a couple interceptions for everybody else there. Good job, guys. Good, well-played game. All right. Panthers over the Browns, 31-21. This was a very, very well-contested game. I made some mistakes. I'm mad at myself. So we left points on the board again. We'll get it right at some point. But the Browns are going to be very tough going forward, all those young guys as they develop. 2 turnovers each. Turnovers were huge in this game. I think it was a very, very well-played game on both sides. Mayfield threw for 295. His receivers are making some insane catches. Good completion percentage. Cam had a couple drops on him. 8 of 14 for 158. 2 interceptions. I think both came in the red zone. I know one did. I threw the wrong damn vertical. Mad at myself. And I think the other one came in the red zone too. I can't remember it offhand, but I think it did. Luke had a pick 6 for one of the interceptions, and the other interception was big. That was TJ Carey that got us the ball back and let us drive down and take the lead in the fourth quarter. McCaffrey, huge game, 12 for 148, and he had a ridiculous play at the end of the half. So we're trying to just run the clock out. We call zone play, and then I think Tristan was like in a quarter defense, and the line really blocked it well, and McCaffrey got to the third level and got away from everybody somehow. I was shocked. I was not trying to score on that, but that was a huge play. It gave us a 10-point lead at the half. Receiving, Duke Johnson caught a crazy wheel route. We were trying to user it, and then we kind of got caught in no man's land. I passed him to the safety, and I don't know what the hell the safety did. It's crazy to me. But anyway, Godwin, Gordon, all those guys made some really, really tough catches tonight. Diggs, 4 for 76. He caught the go-ahead touchdown in the fourth. Conley stepped up with some big catches. I think it was a good game overall. And then defensively, had a couple sacks short in Ogba. And then the interceptions I talked about. Edmonds picked the vertical that I threw wrong. Kuechly picked a PA wheel for a touchdown that made the final margin. Alexander, he picked one in the red zone. I can't remember the play offhand. I think that might have been a vertical too, because I was trying to we're reading cover 3 and we had it, but he made one of those damn jumping linebacker interceptions. Whatever. And then I told you about Carey's interception that let us get the ball back in the fourth and take the lead. But well played game. I enjoyed it. The game that clinched a division for me, Packers defeating the Falcons 17-13. And like Ben said in the chat, I've been playing a lot of these tight games, and been on the bad end of them, unfortunately, here lately. It looks like they held the ball for most of the game, 18-36. Wow, they were able to possess the ball pretty well. Deshaun Kaiser playing for the injured Aaron Rodgers, 2 touchdowns, 8 of 12. And Matt Ryan with some good numbers, 18 of 26 for 252 and a touch. So passing wasn't the problem. Devontae Freeman, 17 for 70. And then some decent numbers for Green Bay running the ball. Calvin Ridley, 6 for 76. Devontae Adams, huge game, 5 for 106, 2 touchdowns. That's contention for player of the week. And then defensively standing out, Mike Daniels with, Green Bay with a lot of sacks. Was that 5 sacks? Yeah, 5 sacks for the Packers. 1 interception, Robert Alford. But good win for Green Bay. I applaud you for playing out the string, man. I applaud that. Not giving up. That counts for a lot. And I know you're good dude, Gate. I won't say that anymore. So Broncos with the huge win over the 49ers, 41-3, 7 turnovers for the Niners. My goodness, I see how the game got out of hand already. 6 interceptions for Jimmy Garoppolo. Jacoby Brissett with a perfect rating, but he was only 5 for 5 for well, how many yards was that? 5 for 5. Right there, 83 and a touch. Okay. Nick Chubb, 22 for 98, 2 touchdowns. You get 7 turnovers, so you might as well run the ball. Hey, I don't blame you. Not much to talk about receiving wise. And then defensively, who got all these interceptions? We're going to see. A couple sacks, and then I see someone with 3. Oh, Chris Harris with 3, Brandon Marshall with 2. Nice. No touchdowns? I see 1. Oh, 2. Shaquille Barrett and Justin Simmons. Oh, okay. Good job for the Broncos. Like we talked about earlier, they've been coming on at the right time, and they got an outside shot at the division. And finally, Seahawks over the Vikings in a big NFC matchup, 24-3. You see, the Vikings had a 3-0 lead after the first quarter, but then the Seahawks turned it on at home. 8 turnovers on both sides. 96 total yards for the Vikings, 8 rushing yards. Only 33 rushing yards for the Seahawks. That's interesting. 4 interceptions each for Russell Wilson and Kirk Cousins. My goodness. That's interesting. Rashad Penny, the league MVP, supposedly. 12 for 21, 1 touchdown. So the Vikings did slow down Rashad Penny, but they couldn't take care of the football. So that's a familiar formula for the Seahawks. Even if their offense isn't clicking, their defense is able to support them. Tyler Lockett with a pretty good game, 3 for 86 and a touch. And then defensively, oh my goodness. Well, player of the week is probably going to be Frank Clark with 4 sacks. Have a game, why don't you? So that's 8 total sacks for the Seahawks. My gosh. And then Earl Thomas with 2 picks. A defensive end with a pick? What the hell? And then the Vikings are able to get a couple picks, but, oh, my Lord. Any defensive touchdowns? Nope. Okay. All right. So that's all the games that have been played so far. I see 3 people on. Thank you for watching, guys, at this late hour. If you're West Coast, it's probably prime time, but either way, check back earlier. We did the playoff picture. If you're in the playoffs, make sure you catch the replay on this. I'm going to end this here in a second, so it'll be up. Make sure you watch the replay on this, and we'll talk. We went through how the schedules are going to play out and how you can get in and who's in the wild card and everything. We'll advance, of course, every 48 hours or probably earlier because we've been doing a good job of getting games knocked out. We're looking for a Colts owner. Please let me know if you got a referral. I would love to have someone. I did put Andrew Luck and Nelson. I recreated them back on the Colts, so they're not in a terrible spot. Wednesday night we'll do PEL live. It may be live on here. It may be video. And the other thing is, make sure you check out the storylines. I put up 3 storylines on the Daddy League's website. Check those out. Make sure you're still doing your scouting. I know the Red Diamonds are coming up. But trust, when you get to the combine stats, take that with the letter grades and make your best judgment. I think that format is great, honestly. I love it. The Green Diamonds, I think, kind of give things away. Without those, you have to really do an assessment, see what fits your scheme, and you'll be good to go, man. All right, so that's PEL playoff picture. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it as always. Have a good night and a good week next week. Thanks for watching.